We don't charge for healing work, nor most of the classes that we do, but we do have overhead, so we do accept donations. We're very happy tonight to have Ron here to tell us about the I Ching. This is something that I've personally been interested in for quite a few years, ever since a dream I had, which Ron and I worked together, and Ron looked up a character in the I Ching that I really didn't want to know about. I was doing my best to resist understanding this character. And so he asked the I Ching, what is this character about? And sure enough, it was exactly what I was dreading, which was a wonderful, wonderful message that sparked a career for me in dream work as well. So that was my first experience with the I Ching, and it taught me what a powerful tool it is. And so who better but Ron Mesa to tell us all about it? And so I'll hand it over to you. Okay?
Thanks. Thanks for coming out on a Friday evening. It's Friday, isn't it? Yes. We're taping because I have a TV show on a Friday evening called The University of Yourself Presents. And that's the business name that I work under, the University of Yourself, because that's where all the wisdom is stored. And all of the techniques and approaches that I use are tools to help you access your own interior knowing. The motto of all the work I've done for many years is, don't take my word for anything. The kinds of things that we're going to talk about are much too important for you to take anybody else's word for, but the tools that we work with, like dreams or journaling or the I Ching and so on, are all techniques which mirror the inner truth of the individual. And we ask you not to believe me, but you can believe your own truth once you work with it. After people work with dreams for a while, or they work with the I Ching, there's a point when you say, oh, of course, either, I knew that, how could I have forgotten that? Or, oh yes, I got it, that's for sure. That we ask you to believe your own felt validity. Right? So that's always the method. Don't take our word for it. There's a natural connection between dreams, like Gloria and I worked on, and I do a lot of dream work as part of my work, and the I Ching is another crucial part of what I work with. And I think of dreams as telling us what we need to know, and the I Ching will tell you whatever you want to know. You can make a dream request and have a dream on a particular topic, and so that actually does work to some extent with dreams as well. But if you need an answer right now, it's hard to put in a dream request, take a nap in the afternoon, get the dream before dinner, interpret it, and have an action plan by nightfall. And you can do that in a matter of an hour or so. My chiropractor called me today and said, I'm thinking about buying another car, and the I Ching advice was really crucial on the last one. Can I call you up and do a phone work I Ching? So she's going to be doing that before she buys her next car. The I Ching is a potent decision maker. It's a tool. The I Ching, how many people have worked with I Ching or used it before? Two, a little bit? You have worked with a lot or a little? A little bit. A little bit? Okay, great. So some of you know what we're talking about. It's I Ching, Book of Changes is what it means. Part of what I like about the I Ching is that most of Western thinking is noun-based, and the I Ching is more verb-based. We think of having a relationship. We either say, I have a relationship, or I'm in a relationship in the West. And there's a hexagram here for that, and there is a noun form, union, but there's also always an active form, and it's called holding together. And the notion is, well, if two people are still actively holding together in a verbal sense, in an action sense, then they do have a relationship. If you think you have a relationship, although it's more likely it has you, if you think you have a relationship, or you're just in one and it's a noun and it's a constant, it'll be there like the can of peas in the cupboard, you may lose the relationship just for the sake of not recognizing how much change is built into every relationship. Within us and between all human beings, everything is in constant change on this plane. Our body is transformed every 6 or 7 years, virtually an entirely new body system, so the image of the body is enduring. The imaginal realm is enduring, but the physical realm is in continuous transformation and change. And this book is based on that. It's a 4,000 or 5,000 year old book. It's based on the principle of change, that everything is in continual movement, and the I Ching studies and works with those patterns of change and transformation. Let me tell you why I'm here to be able to tell about this. I'll tell you the story that I refer to as Mr. Ching Saves My Life. This is a very practical application, and that's why I'm available to talk about the book at all, and also why I'm motivated to. Many years ago, I think it was 87, but I have the notes somewhere, I was up at a friend's cabin in the high mountains, and I had spent about 8 days in Mauna, or silent time. No radio or television, and no talking, and no anything, right? Where you really just stay within yourself. And it shifts the balance from our busy verbal information culture. When I used to work in television, 10 seconds of silence was known as dead air. So you had the awful feeling, if there were not continuous blabber, that something had died. So to correct for that, I was spending 8 days in silence, and at the end of that time, I was in a very good place, and it was time to return to what we call civilization these days. And I thought, it might be a good idea to cast an I Ching and see what advice I'd be given for making that, because it's always a big transition. Anybody who's been in retreat knows what we're talking about, huh? The I Ching gave me a very unpleasant sounding line, which I wasn't thrilled to get at first, but you can't really kill the messenger because it's only a book. I got this particular line. It's a line in Hexagram 5, which is called waiting, or waiting for nourishment, and it's line 4. It's called waiting in blood, and it says, get out of the pit. And the commentary on that says, the situation is extremely dangerous. It's of the utmost gravity now, a matter of life and death. Bloodshed seems imminent. There's no going forward or backward. We're cut off as if in a pit. Now we must simply stand fast and let fate take its course. This composure, which keeps us from aggravating the trouble by anything we might do, is the only way of getting out of the dangerous pit. Now this is an image of as if from ancient times, as if we'd been walking along and fallen into a deep pit. And if you were frantic and crazed to get out of it and began running in any direction, you would simply hurt yourself. You would just bump into the walls. Fate is not going to allow you to get out of a pit with that kind of effort. So patience and calm until you hear the villagers coming or someone who could maybe help you out is going to be required. And anything you do at that point is probably only going to injure yourself. So that's the image, cut off in a pit. And I thought, okay, great. I got in my little Toyota Starlet at the time and was zooming along in the high mountains, and I get near Kenosha Pass, and it's been clear sailing for a while, and now suddenly I get caught behind this one little diesel, and I'm sure there's a reason it's spelled D-I-E-S-E-L. And it's a little cloud of smoke, and for some reason he's doing about 15 miles under the limit. And I used to be a race car driver for about 10 years, and it was a little frustrating. It's not that I don't have patience, I just don't have a lot of it, you know. So I thought, well, all right, I'll just stay behind. And pretty soon there's a whole line of cars backed up behind me that goes for miles. And this one fellow putting along. So I'm waiting, and I'm thinking, boy, when we get to the top of Kenosha, there's this one turn. I know there's one passing lane up there. It's not very long. There's a wall of rock on one side, but it's totally legit, and that's where I'll pass him. So I'm just waiting for that time. We finally get to the top of the pass, and I start to accelerate and pull out around him. I see the clear road up, and there's the curve. I start to pull out, and I think, wait a minute, this is the pit. I'm stuck in a bounded space. I can't go forward. I can't go backward. And what am I about to do? I'm about to aggravate the problem by trying to solve it. I'm about to personally fix things with my ego's solution. I'm a race car driver. I know where it's legal. I know how to do it. My car can do it. I'm going to pass him. I'm in control. And I thought, you know, this is the pit, and the advice is don't take action when you've fallen into a pit. So I just, following this whim, I said, oh, all right, okay. And I pulled back in behind him, right at which time there's a big puff of smoke. I don't know if his carburetor cleared or if he saw me first start to pull and it motivated him to speed. Whatever it was, all of a sudden he's speeding up like crazy. Right as I would have been alongside of him, and there's a brick wall, the rock wall on the left side, and around the corner at 70 miles an hour comes the tanker truck that would have been the very last thing I would have ever seen. Bloodshed seems imminent, extremely dangerous, a matter of life and death. Absolutely so. And my heart is now pounding. Oh, so is the microphone, I suspect. My heart is now pounding at that point, and I'm thudding, and I'm going, oh my gosh, hanging onto the wheel and reflecting on the I Ching. And we get about another half mile along, and this fella turns off. I guess that was his cosmic assignment, was to give me that little test. And now in the middle of nowhere, he's off, and a truck pulls out in front of me, which I can still see visually to this moment, green truck with and there's the license plate SA 1144. Well, 1144 was the minute of my birth. And the message to me was, this is your new life that you owe to the I Ching, because the cleverness of your ego and your plans just got you killed back there. So this life, this is your fresh birth. This is a second chance. That's one of the reasons I'm always happy to explain the I Ching to people or teach classes on the I Ching or whatever. It literally, Mr. Ching saves my life, huh? This is not unusual. The degree of extremity is. I don't live on the edge that much of the time. But the absolute quality of prediction, the clarity of anticipating the future, that's absolutely typical. Now, I got 2 PhDs from the University of Michigan, psychology and social work, and I promise you that in the early years I would have argued half the night, and did with several people, that it's not possible to predict the future. It hasn't been determined yet. It's a probability guess, etc., etc. But the I Ching and dream work has completely changed my mind about that. I simply, you know, as Jung said, it's the daily exposure to the unconscious which has transformed all of my worldly views. That's what will happen if you keep gathering the evidence of working with spiritual tools. And I think of the I Ching as a kind of a spiritual power tool.